Every time I make a video like this, I end up pissing a few people off. And to be honest, I don't care because I'm telling the truth. Truth is, gaming could be so fun, it almost feels like pure ecstasy at points, right? And that is exactly why you are failing yourself. And I know this because it's who I used to be, right? I used to game for 6, 7, 8+ hours a day. I've been gaming since I was 3, 4 years old, right? And growing up and stuff, I had no discipline. Everything outside of gaming felt like a chore. Motivation is not something that existed to me, more or less, right? But I completely 180 in my life to the point where, like, I'm really not even trying to brag or whatever else, but I've influenced the people around me enough to be disciplined. They obviously look to me as someone to guide them in that path, right? And I've helped, honestly, dozens of people develop discipline and also get to the next stage of that in their life, right? And looking back, I didn't realize what was happening to me. I didn't realize what was happening to my brain. And I wish someone told me what I'm about to tell you in this video sooner, because I would have saved years of my life. I would have been much further in life, have a better physique. I would have had better relationships with all the people around me. Of course, naturally would have had more money, more of everything that you want from life, I would have had. So the best thing that I can do is make this video to hopefully help one of use. I'm gonna break down how gaming destroys your discipline and what to do about it. So let's start with what actually is happening to your brain, which is really what affects the most, right? You've probably heard of this term dopamine. It's a massive buzzword that's going around. And quickly I'll explain it. It's essentially the chemical in your brain responsible for motivation, right? It's what makes doing tasks feel good, right? It's released within the anticipation of the reward. So not when you actually achieve the goal, but when you're doing the tasks that it takes to achieve the goal, right? And it's the biology that games, of course, your phone, these types of things, but specifically talking about gaming, it's biology they use to leverage against you, to make you feel like you're grinding for something that's worth it, right? Think about when you're ranking up in a game or you're unlocking camos and skins and the battle pass, these types of things, right? That's why it can be so addictive, right? The anticipation that it creates when you've started ranking up, you've got experience, and you're working towards the battle pass, right? Here's the thing though, once you get the reward, there is a massive drop in your dopamine, right? Basically, here's how it works. Let's say 0 is your baseline. 0 is a healthy level and your natural baseline of dopamine. Well, games are super hyper stimulating. So instead of being a 10 or a 20 on the scale, right, of giving you dopamine, it's like 100 on the scale of dopamine. So when you're playing these games, you're getting so much dopamine, of course, from actually playing the game, which is already hyper stimulating. And then every single time you see the XP bar go up and you're closer and closer and closer to achieving your goal, right? Here's the thing. Once you get the reward, there's a massive drop in dopamine. It doesn't just return to your baseline level of 0. No, it goes way below that, minus 50, 60, 70, right? And this is why it feels awful once you've been gaming for hours and hours. Have you ever stayed up late or played games like literally all day? And when you're doing it, you're locked in. Like, it's all you think about. It's all you're focused on. You're having the time of your life until you log out and put the controller down. And after that, you're feeling completely flat, right? Dopamine doesn't reward you for the goal. It rewards you for chasing it. And games are designed nowadays to have an endless chasing mechanism. Pretty much every single game that exists basically a drip feeding you dopamine, right? And that is why even 1 to 2 hours a day drastically affects your dopamine levels, because modern games are so hyper stimulating. If you're playing Tetris, sure, it's not going to fry your dopamine that much, is it? Perhaps, it might even help stimulate parts of reflexes or problem solving. But modern games are not like that, man. They're so hyper stimulating, they're so action oriented, there's so many different visual effects on the screen releasing dopamine with all the colors, matched with the other things like the false sense of progression. I say false sense of progression. In the game you're progressing, but in real life you're not. My cat's here has decided wants to come on the camera. Come here, boy. Yeah, hello. He wants to be chilling in the video. Hello, my friend. So anyway, let's start with what's actually happening. That's the wrong thing. Where was I? Yeah, the constant stream of dopamine is what saps our motivation, right? It's what makes real life tasks feel boring and pointless. Because the games are so stimulating, why would you want to go do the dishes or do the hard work necessary to actually move yourself forward in life? Because often the hard work we need to do isn't stimulating or crazy amount of rewarding and that engaging when we're doing it. Perhaps the gym, something like that is. But other than that, there's a lot of boring tasks that you just need to get done. That is just the reality of life and work, right? I don't blame you. It's way more stimulating to play games than do these things, right? You have to understand these games are designed to work against your willpower. They're designed to beat your willpower. They're designed to sap your motivation in a way, or at least keep you drip fed. And a byproduct of that is sapping your motivation, right? And so you're training your brain constantly by playing games to get the next quick hit of dopamine, which is exactly why it opens up another can of worms of now you've stopped playing the game, but your brain is still seeking another quick hit of dopamine, which is why you sit here on your phone, or perhaps it's a lot easier to want to be susceptible to eat sugary stuff. Whatever it is, your brain chooses the path of least resistance to get more dopamine, right? And so, on top of that, and the way that it affects your brain, it's also a form of escapism, which isn't necessarily inherently bad within reason. But if you run away from real life for too long, eventually the consequences catch up to you, right? If you never feel the pain and the stress and the anxiety, you'll never deal with it, because these things are all mechanisms, they're all signals telling you you're uncomfortable in this situation and you need to do something about it. And if you're constantly sedating yourself with gaming or other vices, but let's stick to gaming for this video. If you're constantly sedating yourself, you're never going to be able to have that signal to change. You're never actually going to even be able to have the urge to do anything about it, to change your situation. In fact, it will be a negative spiral, because you'll feel bad about your life. And when you feel bad, what do? You cover it up with gaming, right? And so these games are designed to keep you on the wheel, to keep being a little rat and harvest you for your attention and your money, right? And that's their prerogative as a business. They're not particularly doing anything wrong. They're doing what any good business should do, right? It's up to you to make the changes in your life and perhaps do it in moderation. And so this endless progression, think about it, the daily rewards that they give you, the rankings, it's all an illusion of progress. When you're progressing the most in the game is when you're progressing the least in your life and your personal goals, right? Because you're grinding 6, 7, 8 hours a day, and you could be doing. It's kind of seems so simple when I say out loud, but of course you could be doing something else with your time, right? What do you actually have though? You've been grinding the game all day. When you log out, what do you actually have to show for it? When you've got the gold or the diamond camo or the dark matter or whatever it is nowadays, when you've maxed out the battle pass and you've got all the cool skins, maybe when you're playing the game there's a sense of status because you've got the stuff that's nobody else has in this world. But in the rest of the world, when you log out, when you converse with people, do they really find it that cool that you've maxed out the battle pass of the game? Is it really something impressive? Is it something that garners you respect? Is it something that girls will think, that's really attractive? Do you know what I mean? And so that is really just the mental side of things. But it also affects the physical side. It's also a detriment to your physical side. What do I mean by that? Well, look, bro, I've been there. I've been there when it's like 12 o'clock and you're like, guys, look, we should really get off, but like, we can't end on a loss. Or you're on a winning streak and you play another game and another game and another game and another game and another game. And while you're playing these games, you've got all these bright lights, you've got all of this adrenaline pumping through you because, the game's exciting. Also, think about the way that you're sitting, right? Really, when you're gaming, do you have perfect posture for like the entire time? Would you end up slouching? Where do you think tech neck comes from? Of course, it comes from our phones and so on and so forth, but it's only amplified by all the other sitting that we do in the day, right? You're distracting me, bro. I'm trying to make a video. So yeah, it messes with one of the most important things, which is actually not one of the most, pretty much the most important thing to having a good life is sleep. And that's because if you have terrible sleep, everything else in your life gets drastically worse. I mean, you could be rich and you can be, you can have all the stuff that you want, but you'd feel awful all the time when you're tired, right? Nobody wants to live a life where they're constantly drained and fatigued. Do you mind, bro? And yeah, so that's some of the ways that gaming is a massive detriment. Look into sleep. Sleep's pretty much the most impactful thing in your life. Every single metric ever. You're not going to be as strong. You're not going to be as sharp. You're not going to be able to work as hard. You're going to feel awful. You're not going to be as present. So on, so forth. Bro, he's a menace, bro. Come on, bro. Are games pure evil? Is there any upside to them? Well, I don't think they're pure evil, you know what I mean? I don't think it's like you're evil or you're a morally bad person for playing video games. Of course not. And is there any upside to them? Well, I've met a few friends through gaming, online through gaming. I've met a few friends. Also, my friends that are long distance, it helps us stay connected. It's a medium to connect with, right? And so the thing is that there's no difference between that and hopping on a phone call. Maybe it's fun here and there to play a game, but if it's constantly what you're doing, just be aware it comes with them negative consequences of your dopamine is being spiked up. So if it's late at night and I want to chat with a friend, maybe gaming isn't the best thing to do because I've got important things to do the next day. I want to be sharp. I want to be focused. I want to have good sleep. Maybe just phone call will be adequate enough, right? And to be honest, small doses of escapism can be an asset in specific scenarios, right? I've got a fight coming up, so I'm going to be training pretty hard for that fight. But there's only so much training you can do before you're overtraining, right? Now, in that period of when I'm on a downtime, if I can wake up and do the meditating and do the reading. I'm still going to have a few hours in my day to kill, right? And so would it be the worst thing if I sit and play UFC? Probably not, because I'm in a downtime. It's a rest period. I don't want to watch a movie. I've already read. I've already done all my great habits. Went on a walk, still being healthy, still have active recovery. You know what? At that point, maybe it's not such a detriment to game, right? Because I'm aware of it. Yeah, there's this big dopamine spike, but you know what? I've been training extremely hard. I know I'm going to be training tomorrow. So perhaps that could be a good form of escapism, right? And also, plenty of games that I've played personally have had stories which have inspired me, right? And if I play a game like you're a hero in the game, or God of War, Spider-Man, something like that, those are the games, single player games that I played recently, which shows you how many games I play these days. But anyways, right, if you're inspired by that and that fills you with inspiration to be a better person and to go on and go forward and use this motivation to do something productive with your life, that's not particularly a bad thing, is it? And of course, other than that, they're just really fucking fun. Like, I'm not going to lie to you, it's just fun. Sometimes it's cool when you've been working extremely hard for a month or even longer straight, just working, to have an entire weekend where you just fucking binge whatever game you want, bro. I'm not going to lie to you. What I want you to understand is that they're engineered to be stronger than your willpower. They're engineered to use your biology against you. And if you're gaming every single day, well, then it just erodes your discipline. It chips away at your discipline, your drive, your ambition, your motivation. It makes your big goals seem less appealing if you're doing it every day. If you have a really, really big goal you want to achieve, the best thing you can do is cut out all forms of easy dopamine, because it is all you'll think about, all you'll obsess over, and all you'll have fun doing. And the more fun you have doing it, the harder you'll work in it, and the better product or whatever the goal is, the faster you'll achieve it, and the better quality it will be, right? So the main point I'm trying to say is, look, you're not a weak person for gaming and gaming in general, but over time it completely erodes your discipline. Playing games every single day completely erodes your discipline. And I'm not talking about a late night, maybe not a late night, but a poker night with the boys. Poker is very slow. Poker's, it's not high dopamine. It's not high amounts of stimulation. It could be social in between. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the games that we all play. You know, COD, I haven't played COD for years, like years and years and years and years. Whatever it is, Marvel Rivals, or there's so many different games out there nowadays, and I'm so disconnected from it. I can't really give you examples, but I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. So, what can you actually do about it? Well, what you need is a complete dopamine detox, because like I said earlier, right, your baseline is in the gutter, and the only way to really fix your baseline, think about it, if games are hyperstimulating and it takes you lower than your baseline, well, the way to bring your baseline down is to have no stimulation. And of course that includes things like your phone. A complete dopamine detox is literally no phone and scrolling. I even limit the amount of music I listen to. Even though I love and enjoy listening to music, I was listening to it all day, every day, to the point where it's like, why have I even got this on? It's quite nice to have the peace, right? But a complete dopamine detox is the fastest and most effective way to fix it. So I just eaten, so I'm burping a bit. I'm trying not to let out a massive burp on the camera. But anyway, right, going completely cold turkey for at least a month, right? I mean, after a week, you're going to start noticing changes within yourself, being more focused, more driven, more disciplined. And after a month, you're going to start then actually transforming yourself into a new man and changing your identity. And so what do you actually do in this detox? Because it's all cool me saying cut out the games, cut out your phone, so on and so forth. But like, what you're going to do in the meantime, will pick up skills that are going to be assets and also help you regulate your dopamine, right? Meditation is the biggest one. I've meditated. I've had a meditation streak when I was keeping count for over 530 days, I believe. Um, Almost 2 years straight meditating, right? And now it's to the point where I don't track it because I do it every single day. It's that important to me, right? And so meditation is the opposite. It's training your focus. You're literally training yourself to focus on your breath and be present, which is the opposite of something that drains your dopamine and destroys your focus and therefore the amount of discipline that you have, right? Separate from that, low dopamine tasks. Dopamine isn't the enemy. You just don't want to be hyperstimulated, right? So low dopamine tasks. And like I said, assets and developing skills. Reading. Reading's a big one. Reading's going to change your life. I'm not going to bore you with it too much, but it's vital for anyone that really wants to be hyper successful in life, right? Because you learn so many different things, and you also, in this process of the dopamine detox, let's say you read an autobiography or even a fiction book, but it's perhaps some inspirational. One I've read about the 300 Spartans is Gates of Fire by Stephen Pressfield. Absolutely phenomenal book. I mean, it's like the tenets of masculinity in that book, right? And so doing that is also reinforcing your new identity, is reinforcing your identity. Every time you sit down and read, you're a disciplined person and you become more disciplined doing it, and it reinforces that identity, right? And then of course you can always set a big goal to have a fight, or maybe if you've not got into the gym, go into the gym, or have the most hardcore fucking gym arc that you've ever had in your life, right? Or perhaps it's to do something creative, right? Perhaps you can explore different hobbies, do some art if that's something you're interested in, or, something to do with music or golf or rock climbing. There's so many different avenues that you can explore, which are things that different parts of your personality that you can discover because they're not being constantly numbed and stimulated by this one thing, right? And so you can also, go out, be more social, focus on your IRL connections, just spend time with your family and your mum. Like, there's time that's gaming. Why don't you just spend 20 minutes just talking to your mum? It's not the hours that you spend gaming, sure. But just have a conversation. Ask her how her day is. Ask her if she's stressed. Ask her what her problems are. Let her be, let you be the shoulder she can rely on. For example, or your dad or your brother or anyone else, right? And so, yeah, replace it. But essentially what I'm saying is replace it with something that's going to give you real progress, right? Really fulfill you. Because gaming gives you that false sense of progression and you want to move forward in your life in many different aspects. So do something that actually pushes the needle forward, right? And eventually, perhaps you can game again, maybe 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, even longer without gaming. Maybe you get the urge. Maybe there's a new drop. Maybe there's a story game, right? And perhaps at that point, when you're more regulated, it's a lot easier to then manage it, right? But here's a pitfall that I've fallen in time and time again, right? It's kind of like being an alcoholic in the sense that you might start gaming again and it's like really, really fun. So you game more the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day, and you want to rank up and you want to get you get into that cycle that you was in before, because the neural pathways are still there. And once you start gaming again, your brain is like, hey, we've walked this path before, let's walk it again, right? And it's kind of like being an alcoholic, right? I don't drink. I don't really drink very often, right? Probably less than half a dozen times in an entire year. And so for me, drinking's never been a problem. But if you're an alcoholic, a drop of drink or, one beer, you can never just have one beer, because one beer turns into two, which turns into 10, so on and so forth, right? It's pretty well-known thing, right? When you're an alcoholic, it's pretty difficult to ever go back to drinking again, because once you start, it's so difficult to stop. So that's pretty much it, right, to conclude. So if you gained some value from this video, please leave a like. I put a lot of time, thought and effort into this one. It's a lot longer than my regular videos. And so, yeah, do the YouTube stuff. Comment what value you gained and what action you're going to take. Or if you think I'm chatting crap, I'm sure you've already typed the comment, right? And so I'm open to hearing all criticisms that you think I failed within. No problem. And do all the rest of the YouTube stuff for me. Of course, I'm trying to grow this channel, provide more content, and I want to help you guys, right? So help me help you. Like, subscribe, all of the YouTube stuff. And until the next one, peace.